bring in Tom E. Curran. He gets to cover the Patriots, an insider for NBC Sports Boston. When did you start covering the Patriots?
1997, Pete Carroll's first year.
Oh, what do you remember about Pete?
He was relentlessly optimistic and upbeat and just really not ready for the cynical, mean, spirited nature of the post-Parcells Patriots media.
What was your initial reaction when Belichick got hired?
That it's obvious that they should have done it 3 years before. And I asked Robert Kraft in his introductory press conference, why didn't you hire him after Parcells left? And he said, he was too close to Parcells. It's a good question, but he was too close to Parcells at the time.
You start to look at this game. It feels almost like a build-up to a Super Bowl with the media coverage. What is it like locally, and does it have that feel?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think there's fatigue and there's less conversation about what's going to happen between the lines as opposed to what the reactions will be. What are the reactions of the fans? What do the Patriots do as an organization when Brady breaks Breeze's record with 68 more yards to become the career passing leader? Who plays like ass, Brady or Mac? Those are the things that are more focused on than, hey, how are they going to hold back that Tampa Bay front?
There's so many questions on the outside that people, I think, are asking. Like, does it mean more to Belichick? Does it mean more to Brady? Could you quantify an answer with that?
I think the individual victory, it's going to have a lot to do with the nature of the win and the nature of the game. The Patriots are 1-2, but they haven't played really well in any of the 3 games. This is post Brady, so they're 8-11 since he left. But they spent all the money, so people like myself expected, hey, it's going to be probably a 12-win season just by osmosis. And if it's not, and they get their asses handed to them, Dan, it's going to be very disgruntled by the second half inside that stadium. And that NBC will cut from the noise of the fans to Bill, to the fans, to Bill, to Brady on the other side. The optics won't be great.
What answer did you want out of Belichick when you interrupted? Let me play it again.
It was rude. No, it was.
Were you rude?
It popped out of my mouth before I knew it was popping out.
Yes. All right. Here is Tom Curran going toe-to-toe with Bill Belichick.
He spoke on WEEI today about Tom Brady looking at his options, and he decided Tampa was a better option. Why weren't the Patriots a better option for him when both Robert Kraft and Brady himself said over and over how much they wanted him to finish his career here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to go back and rehash all that. We've talked about that.
You've never talked about it with us.
The focus is on the game here. And look, I have so much respect and appreciation for Tom and everything he did.
Okay, so Tom, what did you expect Belichick to say?
See, here's the thing is, it popped out of my mouth because it's several years, and I've had a good relationship with Bill. I don't think it's awesome right now, but several years of him saying that we've talked about things that were never talked about. So that fell out. What I would love for him to say is, see, he's being disingenuous. The offer and the option that Brady looked at relative to the Patriots was never what he asked for, and was never what they kind of agreed to give him in the summer of 2019. In the summer of 2019, it was a very simple request from Brady. The Breeze contract, 2 years, $50 million, all guaranteed. We're done. I'll stay here through 2020. Patriots instead gave him a kind of phony second year and an $8 million bump. And that's what he said, what? So when it got to 2020, there was no option offered by the Patriots. So maybe I was looking for Bill to say, you know what, Tom, let's just put it this way. Philosophically, both on the football field and financially for our roster, the option that Tom had in Tampa Bay was going to be superior to the one that we offered. We weren't in a position to match anything that they were going to do philosophically or financially. That's better than we talked about it when you didn't.
Yeah, you can't rehash if you haven't hashed. And
man,
I mean that. But you're right. Belichick has a way of just saying, we've discussed that. Like in Bill's world, he discussed it by maybe having one line. Reporters want to know there's more to this. Seth Wickersham has a new book out on the Patriots, kind of behind the curtain here. Do you think anything is unearthed with the relationship or lack thereof of Brady and Belichick?
I think there'll be a lot of unearthing of details behind it. In terms of anecdotal stuff, and reading some of the excerpts today, it's going to be a fascinating read. Just the whole triangle of agitation that was going on is going to be interesting to read. Look, Brady loved the success of the Patriots. He hated the interpersonal relationship that he had with Belichick, and he hated it because it could have been better and should have been better, and he wanted it to be better. But it just wasn't going to be that way. And he knew that he was going to go the way of Mankins or Seymour or Vinatieri or Law or whoever. He knew that was awaiting him. That's why he wanted to get ahead of it. And that's why he kept asking for the extensions.
Do you think?
And when Bill wouldn't do it, he was just, I know he's going to do to me.
But Tom had to know Bill Belichick is not capable of being that kind of coach.
Touchy-feely?
Yes.
How come he can do it with like the 38th guy on the roster, but he can't do it with his best player? Because he can, and he does.
You think that he could be, a Bruce Arians kind of guy?
No. But you're not looking for Bruce Arians. But say, for instance, it's the week before the 2018 Super Bowl or AFC Championship, and your hand gets ripped open to an extent that it does. And there's a real question as to whether or not you're going to play. And you play through the pain of it and everything. And then someone asks you about it. Well, it's not heart surgery. It's not like he had his chest torn open. So, I mean, you're like, that's gratuitous. That's gratuitous crappiness toward the kid. And at some point, he's like, well, that's just, he's got it out for me specifically because of the level I've risen to, I think, in many ways. Someone had a great line to me. I think it was one of the people in the organization about Wes Welker. Belichick adored Wes Welker at $3 million a year. He hated him at $9 million a year. Hated. So there you have it.
Yeah. I just don't know. If you see Bill after they win a Super Bowl, I mean, he does. There is emotion there. Like he holds Tom like he's his son, but then 10 minutes after, it's done. He's over with. It's over. 6 times in his life, he's shown that kind of emotion, and that's when they win a Super Bowl.
He's not incapable of the emotion. He's not incapable of human warmth. I mean, he's done many unbelievably generous philanthropic things, and he still does. He's not a horrible person. It's just with his employees, in order for him to get from them what he wants, he has to treat them, he believes, in a certain way, especially the ones who are, quote unquote, above the others.
Yeah.
But Lawrence Taylor, I mean, he coached the best offensive player and the best defensive player, arguably, in NFL history. But Lawrence Taylor got miles and miles and miles of Bill bending over backwards for him. And there's probably a reason for that, because Bill still hadn't been a head coach. And Lawrence was his pathway to become a head coach, just to make sure that he was on the field and you could bend to get things from him.
But if Lawrence Taylor was playing for Belichick as a head coach, how would Bill have treated Lawrence Taylor?
I think it'd be different. I think it would be different until the outlier skills, became a distraction. See, Brady-Belichick believed was imminently replaceable. Brady knew that. Belichick held that sentiment. Belichick was not shy about sharing that sentiment. Lawrence Taylor wasn't replaceable. And that's the biggest part of Brady's, being elsewhere. I mean, Belichick really would have loved to have gone with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's interesting. Think about it. What would have happened if 28-3 turned into 31-14 or 42-10? The timeline would have been perfect. That's 2016. You say goodbye to Tom. Jimmy's the quarterback. You're on your way. Instead, they have that miraculous comeback, and Brady's the MVP in 2017, and now you're screwed.
Is Belichick like driven by ego that he wants to be viewed as, I'm the reason why we win, not Tom Brady, and that competition that he did not like?
I think that's a pretty big facet of it. Yeah.
Damn.
And he will obviously say it's the players, but a lot of those players, because Bill is the general manager, are players who were unearthed by Bill. So whether it's creating Matt Slater or David Andrews. You look along their offensive line, it's dotted with undrafted guys, or a Malcolm Butler, or Devin McCourty, who was a surprise first-round pick, or Gerard Mayo, those are guys that Bill finds. And then when he says it's the players, it's the players, it's the players. Well, how did those players get there? Well, Julian Edelman got there because Bill was prescient enough to hire him. Or Wes Welker is a scrub in Miami. So it cuts both ways. But Bill is absolutely very concerned with who he has to share the spotlight and the acclaim with. And he does it, but he doesn't want to get to the point where it's an actual conversation. Okay, is it McDaniels or Bill? He doesn't want that.
What happened Sunday night?
I was talking to our friend Rich Eisen, and did you watch Game of Thrones?
No.
You didn't?
No.
I can see you do that.
No. I break down game film. I don't have time.
Oh yeah, you grind.
Yeah.
You grind.
Yeah.
I'm sure Paul.
I don't have time for that.
He definitely did.
Yeah,
it's going to look like the Red Wedding.
I end up watching game film. So
Not grinding film at that time.
No, so I don't have time
It
for
must
game
be nice
film.
to watch your
I
Bing watching.
I am on the throne. Do you know who I am? I'm Bill Belichick. I'm on the throne.
Yeah, your game of enthusiasm. Curb your thrones.
So what happens on Sunday night? You think Buccaneers rough them up?
What'll be interesting, I think, is Bill will hatch a game plan to make sure that he doesn't get 40 dropped on him. That means people are deep all night, and you invite Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones to run the football as much as possible. So I'm thinking like 27-13,
Okay.
27-17.
Okay, finish this sentence. What if the Patriots win the game?
You're going to see just huge vindication and elation. And I mean, it'll be a massive upset.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is, in games like this, if you said, what if the Patriots win the game when they were backed into a corner, it would be because of Brady. I don't know who it would be because of this week. I don't know what individual player would have an out-of-body experience to deliver that win.
Post-game handshake, hug, neither.
Depends on the result.
Buccaneers win.
Probably a pregame hug.
Pregame hug.
Yeah.
Paulie wants to take you up on that bet. You want to bet with Curran on this?
I could see a pregame conversation and maybe a pregame handshake, but a hug?
I think if you're going to have a conversation, you're going to have a hug.
Initiated by whom? Tom?
Bill.
Oh, Bill.
Bill would always be the initiator.
Oh, the initiator.
Based off what?
Wait, there's the deflator, the initiator.
Because you don't go running up to your 1950s dad and embrace him. You wait for him to make the first move. Son, I was always very proud of you. I always told the guys down at the bar, I love you. That's the relationship. Brady's not going to run over and hug him like me and Genie did. Remember that whole thing with me and Genie would run out and hug him, and then Bill wouldn't hug him, and then Bill ran out and hugged him harder.
Paulie has $16 to his name. You're willing to bet $16, no pregame hug or handshake.
No pregame hug. Handshake is in play.
Handshake is in play.
That's too specific for me to put that. Then I need odds.
I'll give you 30 to your 15. I'll come up with some scratch.
$30 to your 15.
All right, I'll give you $15 if there's no pregame hug, just for the action, really.
Okay. Because now there's a reason to watch the game.
Well, now I have action on pregame.
Yeah. Do you get to talk to Belichick anymore this week?
Yeah, Friday morning.
Great.
Hayes in the barn. It'll be a fun day. It's usually good on Fridays.
I'll bet. Thank you, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Play nice. That's Tommy Curran. He covers the Patriots. He's an insider there. He interrupted Bill Belichick.